wish coming true. And my wish is that you'd let me spend my whole life with you. Through some old photographs, it's coming true. And my wish is that you'd let me spend my whole life with you. My idea of a perfect Christmas, spending it with you.
Turn Pinoy radio on. Few moments later and my favorite song comes on. I'm feeling happy, dance to the beat. Filipino music makes me feel free. The music touches my soul, makes me feel high. I'm loving life, proud to be Pinay. There's no other place that makes me feel home than tuning into PinoyRadio.com. This is the music of my life, fills me with love and so much pride. PinoyRadio.com.
We would like to express that the opinions, views, comments, and suggestions of the host in this program are purely their own and do not reflect those of Pinoy Radio. Emanating from MCBN Broadcast Center, you're all Filipino Radio. PinoyRadio.com. PinoyRadio.com. Minagasa Broadcasting Network Incorporated. This is PinoyRadio.com.
Love it! Markahan ang inyong mga kalendaryo
Every Sunday.
Itama ang inyong mga orasan
From 12 noon till 1 in the afternoon.
Para sa lingguang programa sa Pinoy Radio. Sunday Talk with Randy and Tony. Sunday Talk. Makilahok sa palitan ng kuro-kuro. Randy Bukaw at Tony San Juan. Live. Sabi nga yan, if you can walk the walk, then you can talk the talk. Sama na sa palatuntunang may kabuluhan. Sunday Talk with Randy and Tony.
And good afternoon, everyone. I don't have the mic. Sorry. Hello. Okay, there you go. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Randy here live on Pinoy Radio Sunday Talk Show with our DJ Ryan Pepper. Kumusta, Mr. Pepper?
Okay naman, sir.
That's good. Yes. So just to advise and remind everyone that today is the last day for the viewing of our late Filipino Senator, Senator Tobias June and Verga, right? So his wake right now is on the Highland funeral that is on the Shepherd just west of Warden in Scarborough. So Highland Funeral Homes there, right? So Senator June Tobias and Verga, that's his last day or last evening for tonight. I think it's until 9 in the evening. And then tomorrow at the Basilica of St. Michael's Cathedral in downtown for the Mass before the funeral. So if you haven't been pay respect, so you can be there for the last day today. He is there waiting for you and the family of Rosemar and Verga as well. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, today, if you like the sports and if you like the Toronto Argonauts, it's the Greek Cup against the Calgary Stampeders one more time again, right? So although they are underdogs, but I'm very positive that the Toronto Argonauts will win this game, Greek Cup, later at around 6 o'clock, I guess, in Ottawa. And is it so cold outside, Ryan?
I think it's -5.
It's -5.
Feels like -5.
Feels like -5. And it's another Santa Claus parade And if you are down the beaches, right? So it's a little so slow there. If you are driving on the beaches there by Queen from Victoria Park, I believe so. It closed that somewhere there. So there is a Santa Claus parade. And today, on November 26 on Sunday Talk Show Pinoy Radio, we are so blessed that we have our Filipino advocates, I should say, in the Council of Toronto City, because he introduced and the motion being granted by among the other councils that June, starting this 2018 of June 2018, that Toronto is celebrating the Filipino Heritage Month. That will be starting this June 2018. So ladies and gentlemen, I would like you to introduce and welcome for the first time in Pinoy Radio our very own Toronto City Council Ward 42 Councilor Nathan Sian.
Thank you, Randy. Thank you for having me, and thank you to all the listeners of Pinoy Radio.
Thank you, Nathan. And you've been in the council for how many years now?
Less than a year. I actually got elected in February of this year.
February of this year.
Yeah.
Before February of this year, before you become a city councilor, what were you doing?
Well, I was a school board trustee for Toronto District School Board, and prior to that, I was also a school board trustee in York Region District School Board.
You served two district school boards.
As a trustee, yeah. And I was also in the not-for-profit sector, doing mostly migrant justice work, immigration, refugee policies, those type of work before that as well.
And before you become a school boards from York and then became Toronto, right? Before you became Toronto, before you're running for York Region School Board there, what were you involved with other politics also?
Yeah, I actually was involved in my initial work was as a youth worker.
Yes.
In Malvern. That was my very first job. Formally doing community-related work. So
good.
So I think that was kind of political, because you were always advocating with the schools and with the politicians to do something for the youth. So I think that's what it started, and then I went into school board. I used to be a school teacher as well, math and science teacher in between that before becoming a school board trustee.
Did you ambition for another political office campaign before the school boards?
I mean, I initially no. School board was my first choice when I ran, but then later, after I left school board, I also did run for provincial politics as well.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. So which party were you trying to get in?
Yeah, I'm with the NDP party, New Democratic Party, and I was the president of Ontario's NDP. I got elected as a president of Ontario NDP and served as a president for almost 3 years.
Nice.
And so that was my role in that. I mean, I'm kind of seen as a left-leaning, center-left-leaning or left-leaning politician.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we all have to choose. If you go for the provincial or federal, you need to choose one, right? It doesn't matter who they are, just choose one. So that's good to know. It's your first year, or it's really your first from February to 2017. This is your first Christmas in the City Council.
Yes, it is.
And you are still young. And when I was checking your Wikipedia, you're still younger than I thought that you are, right? And how do you feel like, because I'm not sure if there is another one. Oh, there is another one younger, way younger than you, the Ford.
Michael Ford, yeah.
Yeah, Ford, he's very, very young. How do you like in the City Council?
Well, I like it. Obviously, being a young person in City Council is an advantage and a disadvantage. One, obviously, system still thinks that older you are, you know better. So sometimes you get boxed into not being accepted for your knowledge. But at the same time, people also expect you to bring energy, innovation, new way of thinking, and all this stuff. So there is always a positive side to it. And then the councillors who've been there, most of them have been fairly friendly and supportive and given me mentorship and give me the inside techniques of getting things done, regardless of where they are from political spectrum.
That's
true.
So
it's been nice to be in that mix.
Oh, that's good to know. I have to correct myself. That's Ward 40, right? Not 42.
42.
42?
Yeah.
Okay, 42. So that's Ward 42. Is this what do you call this Ward 42?
It's called Scarborough Rouge River. We have 41 and 42, which are Scarborough Rouge River. And I'm on the eastern side, so Malvern and Morningside Heights are the main neighborhoods in the area.
Okay, that's good to know. And this riding back, this Ward 42 rather back then, it was under Raymond Cho for such a long time.
For 25 years, that's a quarter century.
Yes, I've been only in Canada for 24 years.
Okay.
And then since I remember every time election, I saw his name along Shepherd.
Yeah. He's been there for 25. I mean, he got first elected in 1991.
That's a long time. So I guess, did you ever plan when did you came to Canada? You came as an immigrant, right?
Yeah, I came in 1995. I came as a refugee, fleeing a war in Sri Lanka. So I came as a refugee to Canada, and I was 16-year-old.
You were 16 years old. Did you ever thought that you will end up working in the city council?
No, not really. Not at that time. I mean, after probably 5-6 years, then politics became kind of the thing I wanted to do. But not when I came in. Not when I came in, the challenge was to try to fit in, try to study, and try to get to university, because I was 16 in a new environment. My parents didn't come with me at that year. They got reunited later, so I was unaccompanied minor with my sister.
Very good,
so
yeah.
so the challenges were more pronounced at that time, not to be thinking about running for politics and so on.
That's good, yeah. I saw your write up here in wikipedia.com that you had your master.
Yeah, I did my master's in education at University of Toronto in sociology and equity studies. After doing my Bachelor of Education and Bachelor of Science at University of Toronto, I went on to do master's. So I finished 3 degrees there.
Have you been an educator? Have you been somewhat in the school in front of the students?
Yeah. I first finished a high school teaching degree, teachers college, to teach math and science in high school. So I did teach for about one semester for half a year and a summer. And then once I got elected as a trustee, I can't continue teaching because of the conflict of interest. So I had to leave teaching, but I did teach for a bit, and that's my.
What was your full time when you became a trustee? Because trustee is not a full time job. Yeah.
Then I was in the not-for-profit sector. I was a manager for youth programs in Melbourne, and then I became an executive director of an agency called CASA.
Right.
It's an umbrella agency of South Asian agencies in Ontario. So that was the policy work that I did.
That's really good. Do you miss teaching?
I do. I mean, I still see some students that came to me, and more teaching and youth work. From those two, I run into students all the time, and they remember you. That's one of the noble professions out there, if not the most noble profession. People only remember, the impact teachers had. I miss it a bit, but I think I'm in a position to change a lot more at this time. So I'm not regretting it as much, but I do miss it.
Of course, yeah, that's good. Yeah, because I also taught before when I finished my university back in the Philippines, right? And when you teach and you have these students hoping that they will learn from you.
Yeah. And you end up learning a lot from the students too.
Absolutely.
Right? It's a both ways.
I keep telling them the only difference us is that we have a lesson plan and then we read it ahead of you. That's the only difference. But nonetheless, we are also learning like you do. But teaching is always good, and that's good. Yeah. So back in the Ward 42, is Melbourne inside Ward 42?
Yeah, fully. Melbourne is fully inside Ward 42.
And then you advocate for the youth in that area.
Yeah, Melbourne actually, according to the last census, I know about this, has the highest concentration of young people in all of Canada. So one of the biggest assets we have, sometimes some people see it as a problem, but I see it as an asset.
It is,
that
yeah,
is
indeed,
huge youth population in Melbourne. So a lot of my work as a youth advocate and my work as a youth worker and all the stuff that I've done as a high school teacher comes handy to try to develop programs and support young people in the ward.
Is your constituents office in Melbourne or somewhere else?
So I have one we have one at City Hall downtown.
Yeah.
That's the main office. But I also have one in Melbourne, a constituency office where people. But actually, every day during school days, a lot of young people come after school to volunteer and be part of different projects. So it's a community space. We
just need to tell the other new Torontonians out there that Melbourne is the Scarborough East, right? So this is like Toronto East. Like if we have Etobicoke West, we have Melbourne or Scarborough in the east. We are still inside Toronto.
Yeah, it's a northeast corner technically of the
northeast of the city. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So you've always been in Scarborough since you came to Canada.
No, I initially settled in East York when I came as a refugee at the age of 16, and then lived a bit in North York, and then in Scarborough, then in Markham, and finally settled back in Scarborough. So I've been around. It's usual for most newcomers and immigrants to kind of have kind of a transitioning from each level.
Yes,
as
we are.
become a
We are
little
like
bit more,
that,
you know,
yeah.
So finally, after I got married, I got settled. I settled in Scarborough and been there for last 7 years in the same place.
Nice. That's very good. And you're married with children?
Yeah, I got 2 boys.
Two boys.
3-year-old and 6-year-old.
Oh, they're still young. Yeah, younger than mine. Yeah, that's good. I got girls. Yeah. So currently, you're also appointed as Toronto's newcomer advocate. What does that mean?
Well, you know, City of Toronto, most newcomers who choose to come to Canada choose Toronto still. And there are a lot of
And
needs.
there's lots of them here.
Yeah, lots of them. And it's good that we attract newcomers to come to Toronto. But we have a lot of work to do in terms of helping to find meaningful employment for them, making our arts and recreation more diverse. You know, so
You're part of Toronto Arts Council.
yeah, I'm part of Toronto Arts Council as well. So I'm hoping that, you know, through this lens of work that I do, I know what it feels when you came in at the age of 16 with language barrier, with settlement challenges. So I'm hoping that I can bring that experience to look at every policy we introduce as to see what kind of impact it will have on newcomers and make it positive impact. But also to work closely with the federal and provincial government, because the city is a big
That's
city.
true.
It's not like any other city. So we need to work together to find the right policies and support for newcomers.
Yeah, for newcomers, we all know that the immigration of Canada immigration are adding a lot of how many 300,000
Yeah, a new
the new immigrants. That's a target, right? So I think majority of that will end up in Toronto.
Yeah, it's been the trend. I mean,
That's
though
a trend, right?
we are seeing a little bit of a spreading around GTA with the Mississauga, York region, Peel region, and Durham region, but a lot of them still continue to come to the
Yeah, because when you're a new immigrant or a newcomer, it's hard to adjust how to commute. And in Toronto, east to west, north south, we are connected from our TTC, right?
Yeah.
So it's very convenient, like either bus, subway, and we have a Go Transit that's connecting along the GTA. Also, it's like that is very promising to all of us. That's why I guess among are we 6 million in GTA now?
Probably.
Or
We
more
are
than
about,
that?
I don't know the exact number, but you know, we are most of Ontario's population, 1/3 of Ontario's population.
It's
is
in GTA.
I don't think it'll be 6 though, but it'll be fairly.
It
close
could
to
be like
the
that, yeah.
3 to 4.
However, we both know, or we all know that the majority work is in downtown Toronto also.
Yeah, I mean the concentration of work is still downtown Toronto. Unfortunately, it's spreading a little bit. You know, there's a pocket in Markham, there's a pocket in Mississauga that's expanding, and we are hoping that one of my advocacies is to also push a lot of jobs into the Scarborough area from downtown.
So are you, since you're advocating for the newcomers and for the youth, is there a growth that there will be like jobs offered to the youth? Because I know most of the employers will seek for experience in that field of position, right? So when we define youths, like they are like what? How old are they? Like high school graduate up to 32 or something?
Up to 30 is usually
30,
the federal definition goes up to 30.
Up to
of
30.
youth. Yeah, I mean, we've seen a proliferation of things that are called internship, and sometimes young people were being exploited because they got the skills, they got the degree, but
They're
would
hardworking
say,
people.
people would say you work free for a year and we'll see if we can hire you, kind of thing, right?
Well, that's illegal though.
Yeah, now
Yeah,
it's
they can't do
changed,
that.
but it was important for us to fight that. Unless it's the university-based internship or something like that, but
Yeah, that's
you
another
can't-
story.
That's another story. So I'm pushing for employment for young people, particularly young people from my area are very diverse. I have over 90% of the population, even close to 95% of the population in some of the areas are people of color, and many of them feel like their names and their language or their accent or their address are preventing them from getting good jobs, and there's some truth to it as well. So we got to remove those barriers and get young people employed, and locally would be good because many of them also continue to study and work. So having jobs spread out across the GTA is more important.
That's good. Let's go back to Malvern. Like I've been in Scarborough for 22 years now, and there was one point that in the area of Malvern, even the TTC drivers doesn't want to drive nighttime there. How's the gang students or gang youth there nowadays? Because we know that there are some they claim to be part of the gang. Are they still around, or they are quiet somewhat?
I think again I some would say I'm biased, but it's not. It's over exaggerated in some ways because Malvern is a big neighborhood. If you
It's
look at
very big.
geographically, right?
It's
and
very
sometimes
big, yes.
things happen outside Malvern. They still tag it to Malvern. If it's in Macon and Finch, it's not really Malvern, but it will be called Malvern. If it's somewhere down south of Markham and Shepherd, they'll still be called Malvern because it's easier for people to kind of lump it together. But from the time I was a youth worker, I started in 2000, like 17 years ago as a youth
That's
worker.
a long time ago.
A lot of things have changed. A lot of young people are focused and so on. But at the same time, the crime statistics, if you look at murders and stuff like that, is fairly, I won't say insignificant, but relatively, it's not as bad as what's made out to be
That's true.
in Malvern.
Yeah, that's true.
It's occasionally you get this random
Anywhere,
deaths
anyways,
right?
yeah.
And sometimes it's not just confined to one area. It's actually a conflict between two people. One of them could be from Etobicoke, the other one would be from Markham, and so it's more of a conflict, and people are mobile. So when they had those arrests of a gang called Malvern Crew,
Yes.
a few years back, a lot of those people were not arrested in Malvern.
They were from out far, yes.
Some of them were outside the GTA too. So sometimes the negativity hasn't gone because the name was associated with it, and people have had a certain amount of fear around it. But I have to say, I've been a youth worker. I've managed youth programs. I live in that ward. Work a lot in there. It's fairly peaceful. People are out and about doing their usual stuff. Occasionally, as in any other area, we get one or two incidents every month or so. But I wouldn't call that alarming. Things we need to do is more along the youth employment piece. We need to do a lot of youth engagement piece because the youth numbers are high, and if you don't do anything, obviously they won't have much positive things to do if you don't provide those spaces.
That's right.
But it's not as what it makes to be.
That's good to know. Yeah. So still in Malvern, if I'm not mistaken, I think that's the area where they start the Habitat. I think it's Canadian project or association that they build a habitat there. How's the houses there right now?
It's good. Habitat for Humanity has a lot of units in Malvern. I think they said it's one of the highest in all of Toronto. That in my ward, that we have number of units, and they had already built one and it's rented out, and they're building a new set of homes. Pretty
coming.
Close to it. Yeah, it's close to the Malvern Town Center area. The center.
Is
center
this
part
by
of it.
the City of Toronto or also multi-level of governments?
It's Habitat for Humanity is on its own project. It's a not-for-profit organization. They get
also there's no funds from the governments.
they get support here and there, but it's run as a not-for-profit. It's built on a model where the input and the hard work and stuff like that pays into the labor and so on. So it's a unique housing model that's there. Directly, city doesn't have any direct role in it.
Okay, that's good to know. And the housing in in that part of Scarborough, there's I don't know how many thousands of doors under Toronto housing.
Yeah,
or co-op too. Co-op, they have lots.
There are a lot of co-op housing.
Yeah, lots of co-op houses. Yeah.
Community housing, we only have a couple of seniors building, and then one unit called Embringham housing project. But other than that, we have something called scattered homes. So it's on a regular street, but one home would be a TCHC home and the rest of them won't be, right? So we have a lot in Malvern where TCHC owns homes individually in a street as a separate home, and it's rented out to tenants.
Yeah, because we know that our federal government, Liberal government, is planning for 10 billion a year over 4 years to put up housing for everyone who can afford, right? So what's the role? Let's just focus in Scarborough here. What's the role for the Scarborough people could have that kind of project there?
Well, I think we need to push for affordable housing. So in different level. One is to increase the Toronto community housing units because the wait list is huge.
The existing buildings?
Or it's the huge wait list, right?
Also, yeah.
Or otherwise also to kind of get into developers and partner with developers to say, certain number of units should be made affordable units. And that's happening as well. We see that, maybe 10%, maybe 5%, maybe few percent of it is kept as an affordable housing, being sold at the rate of 70%, 80% of the market rent, market value. And then there's also projects like the co-op housings and projects like the Habitat for Humanity that needs to be supported as well. And then you have mixed, there is not much space for renting now. And people who want to rent are struggling because, rentals, most of it is built to sell. So rental housing has to be continued to be built as well, because people want to have access to, and not individually rent from a condo owner, because then it becomes sometimes more expensive.
Yes, it is.
But as a tenant. So.
I know that the Rent Act here is by the province, right? So it's covered by the province. Is Toronto doing that rental freeze or the rental control inside Toronto?
No, we have what we are doing something around is around landlord licensing project to kind of push for some sort of a registration of landlords to make sure that their health and safety and those type of things are the cleanliness and recycling.
Yes, that's a
stuff.
good one.
Those things are under cities. To a certain extent, municipal licensing and standard can handle some parts of that. So we're doing that. In terms of rent control itself, as a legislation would have to come from a provincial.
That's right. That licensing part there, especially the cleanliness, if there's no cockroach or no mice, bed bugs, those kind of thing. I'm not sure if you are aware that how often that the city check those buildings.
So we a lot of it is complaint driven because we don't have enough staff, unfortunately, on inspection to do a circulation of every year this many buildings kind of a thing, right?
Lots, yeah.
But there will be some random things as well, but mostly it's complaint driven. If there are concerns being raised, and then our inspectors can go in to check, right? But MLS deals with all sorts of things, not just buildings. They deal with fence-related issues, lawn-related issues.
They have lots, yeah.
So there's a lot of noise-related issues.
Yeah.
So we have very few inspectors, so they kind of make a.
Well, the city should bring up more employees. This kind of thing, The minimum now is raising up to 14, which Toronto City requires another 10 million.
Yeah, I mean, most of Toronto's employment positions weren't below 14 to begin
I
with.
know that, yeah.
So it's not bad, but it's the impact is a collective impact. I think we will be seeing a collective impact of everything moving in a positive direction.
When I heard that news about the Toronto City Hall, the city of Toronto would require 10 million because in 2018 it will be minimum to $14. I said, are there some employees in Toronto City that's on minimum?
Some are on the recreation field, for example, frontline, someone part-time employment in in those things are
in the community centers,
and stuff like that aren't at that level yet in terms of living wage. So
that's true, because most of the employees, if they are not in the office, they are union members. And they have their own level of the incomes, right? And every year, whether they like it or not, it go up.
No, most of not all jobs, most of them are in a unionized environment.
Yeah, most of them are unionized, not all. That's true. Well, we will come back just after these few messages from our studio. So stay tuned, mga kabayan. This is Randy here live on Pinoy Radio Sunday Talk Show with our City Councilor, Toronto City Councilor, Nitan Xian. So stay tuned because we have more questions and for you to know as well. Thank you.
Tech Talk. Let's talk politics. Talk about today's issues. Usap tayo kabayan. Sunday Talk with Randy.
What's the purpose of your visit? Do you intend to stay long?
Questions. A lot of questions.
So, what's your concern? Do you have issues on student visa or super visa?
I want to know about family sponsorship.
Business immigration.
How about caregiver program?
Self-employed class.
Tell me more on PR and citizenship applications.
Skilled and temporary workers.
Please enlighten me on express entry. NQCIS has the answers. Northern Quest, Canadian Immigration Services.
Visit their website today, northernquest.ca, or better call them now at 647-302-3508.
NQCIS, your reliable partner to your bright future in Canada. Sa iRemit, libreng tawag ka sa Pilipinas tuwing magpapadala ka ng pera via iRemit from any of our 8 branches across Canada. Visit Better's Toronto branch and enjoy free coffee or tea and other refreshments and experience the comfort of their service while sending money to the Philippines. Mga kababayan, namimiss niyo na ba ang mga pagkain iyong kinalakan at ang mga Pinoy street foods na iyong binabalik-balikan? Tulad ng isaw, tenga, Magwheels, Adidas, Betamax, Kwek-Kwek at kung ano-ano pa. Sounds familiar? Huwag nang malumbay. Dahil sa Eskinita, masarap tumambay. Eskinita Foods. Tastes like home. Kaya tara na sa 180 Stills Avenue West sa Vaughan, Ontario. May katanungan ka? Tawag na 905-886-2402. Dine-in ka man o food to go? Swak ka dito. 905-886-2402. O paano? Hintayin ka namin at ang iyong mga mahal sa buhay. Tamang gimmick lang, isama ng iyong mga kaibigan. Banyaga man o kabayan. Kita-kita tayo sa Eskinita Foods. Tastes like home. Kabayan, may magandang balita! Free attic insulation mula sa Canada Home Insulation. Ang Ontario Home Conservation Program ay narito para magbigay ng rebate sa mga homeowners na kailangang mag-upgrade ng kanilang attic insulation. For inquiries, tawag lang sa 1-888-228-8992. Join our program with Canada Home Insulation and see if you can qualify to receive a free attic insulation upgrade. Again, that's 1-888-228-8992. Tawag na!
What does it take to realize your dreams? To get you there, a vision and positive steps. The same goes to your financial future. At World Financial Group, we help middle-income families identify their dreams. It's never too early to start working towards your dreams. So I suggest you call Agnes Miranda today. Telephone number 416-702-9693. To secure your family's future, think of World Financial Group.
Mula Bukang Liwayway hanggang Takip-Siling, PinoyRadio.com. Inyong kapiling 24/7.
In entertaining the global Pinoy.
We go above and beyond.
On air everywhere. Listen in. Look at us. Now streaming live.
On the road and rising. Reaching more Filipinos abroad.
Ito ang Radyo ng Pilipino.
Across the nation, around the world.
Pinoy Radio. This time, it is everything and more.
You are listening to PinoyRadio.com. I love Filipino music.
And we are back here, mga kabayan. This is Randy again, live on Pinoy Radio Sunday Talk Show. Wala pa po si Sir Tony San Juan. Next month pa pala ang balik niya. So we don't have an encyclopedia right now. So we are doing our Wikipedia thing, right? So DJ Ryan anyways is our tiny encyclopedia for the music. Who's your guest this today, DJ?
It's Edwin
Andres. Yeah, where's Edwin? I asked him to come here early.
He's here like 10 minutes.
Oh, he'll be here soon. Okay. We're back here with our special guest, Councilor, Toronto City Councilor Nathan Sian. And we were talking earlier about a little bit of this and that, mostly in Scarborough. And still back in Scarborough, Councilor, what's our hope to have that, or how is it right now for the Scarborough subway? Well, where are we at right now?
Well, most councillors at City Hall, we have 44 councillors and a mayor, so 45 people get to vote on it.
That's right.
And most people, close to 2/3, I would say, have been supporting subway extension.
Close to 2/3. It's not 2/3 yet.
Close to, I don't know what exactly the number is, but at different times different types of reports come, but it's a solid majority. If it's over half, then you have solid,
so it might gonna happen sometime soon.
Yeah, so but it is it's a big project, and obviously it's a very costly project.
It's a big money,
so it's going to come back different times with different types of levels of design. So we'll have a bit more design information, we'll have a bit more of the actual cost information and so on. Every time the discussion will come back to the table, but I think most of us are committed. In fact, 9 out of 10 Scarborough councillors are committed.
Wow.
So
9 out of 10, it's not 10 is to 10. It's like I'm gonna check who's this.
Councillor Paul Ainsley is not supportive of it. But the rest of the councillors are supportive of it. All of the other levels of so there are 20 politicians in Scarborough.
Right.
19 out of 20 support. So there's a solid consensus in Scarborough. we just want to move forward. We've had enough discussion, we've had enough votes. We just need to move forward. Extending the subway to Scarborough Center. If everything goes well, it will be 2025 or 2026.
This is from the
Kennedy Station to
Kennedy Station. So instead of the LRT, it will be a subway.
Instead of currently we have SRT.
SRT rather.
The one that the Scarborough RT. Instead of that, it will be subway. So you don't get off at Kennedy Station. Right now, you get off on Kennedy Station, go up 2 floor and get the RT. Right.
So you're saying they're gonna make a new underground there? That
So it'll be awesome. Underground. So Kennedy won't be the last station. It will be Scarborough Town Center, Scarborough Civic Center, or Scarborough Center.
Yeah.
However it's called, it probably will be called Scarborough Center.
What will happen to McCowan Station? They have to go up and or cross the road.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, there might be some other use for it. The Scarborough RT is still going to run until 2026. So we're hoping to run the construction while the RT is still functional. So it'll be a smooth transition. Connecting the center of Scarborough to the rest of this city through this kind of rapid transit is going to bring employment, more development. It's going to be better for us to have many things happen in the area. This is one of the many solutions, though. It's not the only solution, because we have to have there's an LRT that's coming from Eglinton, across Eglinton to Kennedy, that will come along Morningside to Scarborough campus and then to Malvern.
How about, that's the plan, going to Malvern also?
Supposed to be coming to Malvern later, but what I'm pushing, I have a campaign called Connect Malvern campaign right now, asking the city council to make it one plan so that it can be extended to Malvern. So I have an active campaign to bring it to Malvern now.
I hope you're still in the council during that time.
Hopefully. I mean, not when it comes up, but the discussion is likely to come up next year.
Yeah. And how about that from Don Mills going to Scarborough Center? That was a plan also along Shepherd.
Yeah, that's further down the road, though. There's no money committed to a subway expansion there. Currently, there's an LRT plan that comes from Don Mills as an LRT.
So it's gonna surface.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be under the surface according to the plan up to Victoria Park, close to Victoria Park, and then come up, and then be at grid level on surface coming up to the zoo.
Zoo?
Yeah, just on Shepherd, the straight Shepherd, not to turn into the other plan.
It's not gonna go to Scarborough Town Center, so that's gonna be east to zoo.
Yeah, the other plan was some people argued for subways to come to, Don Mills to be extended as subways to come to Scarborough. But that's going to be, we are struggling with getting funds and getting approval for this one stop to Scarborough Town Center. So that would be a couple of decades down the road if we were to get subways. But I think the LRT plan is ready to go. And so we are still debating that still, but we haven't ended up on where we would go with that.
Did the Ontario as well as the Canada government are committing for us with the Toronto here for the Scarborough lines additional?
So the Scarborough. So what they have done is that they have supported this. They have said the city's decision. They'll respect City of Toronto's decision.
Okay.
They don't want to get into the, especially federal government says they don't want to get into the arguments of which is better. You decide and we'll support it, right? So that way, but they don't. We have to prioritize as a city rather than they don't prioritize. But you saw from provincial Patrick Brown's team that they wanted to invest more into the survey. According to their platform,
it could change,
yesterday. So things could change in different ways, but I think they're all directed towards more investment to transit, which is a good thing.
Yeah, because we all know that if you have a better transit, that means people doesn't really commute that much, so less traffic, right? And also if we have a good transit from point A to point B, it's easy to find a job in the city. Not going outside the city, which is really, really tough. Like my full-time job is in Oakville.
Oh, wow.
I have to drive there every day.
Yeah.
And then back to Scarborough. I live in Scarborough.
Yeah, it's a health thing. So, if you have 1 extra hour at home, you spend 1 extra hour with your kids.
Right.
Or 1 extra hour you're doing a healthy activity. You go to a gym, or you are not getting as much of those things in some parts of Scarborough, some part of Etobicoke, even in Brampton and in the other areas outside the Toronto area, because you're spending almost 3 to 4 hours every day just driving.
Yeah.
No,
3 to 4 hours. That's really true. 3 to 4 hours. Yeah.
And environmentally, it's an issue. So I think better transit. We are behind compared to many countries in the world, including countries that are developing countries. we are way behind in terms of transit. So we have to start. We are making up the cost of the Scarborough subway is so much now because we should have done this 20 years ago when the RT discussion was coming for Scarborough.
Who was that? The head of TTC who left us or who's leaving us?
Andy Byford.
Andy Byford, and he's going to New York City transit there, right? Yeah. And is that a big loss for us, or it's okay?
I mean, he's been great, and his focus had been on obviously expanding transit, also on customer service, which is an important thing for TTC, and we'll miss him. He's done a phenomenal job, but the city continues to find the right talent and to continue the work. One of the discussions that might be of interest to you coming up is that we're hoping the transfer, when you get a transfer, you can only go one directional right now.
That's right.
We are trying to see if we can change that to, and I'm pushing for a 2-hour limit to go any direction.
15
and sometimes they're looking at 90 minutes. So either 1.5 hour or 2 hours that you can go any direction. So for example, in Scarborough, your place of worship, your sports places, your school, your shopping places, everything is not walking distance.
No.
So if you have this thing, then you can probably do it in one trip, because otherwise, you keep accumulating a lot of cost that becomes unaffordable.
Yeah, so that means also that we have to change the ticket system from the bus. So it has to be stamped with time and stamped where they pay the...
So we are getting a lot more people to use the Presto cards that can record information.
I haven't, me personally, I never tried Presto cards yet.
So right now, if you take a transfer, the transfer actually says what time you got the transfer. The way the ticket is torn, transfer is torn, it shows what the time is,
the
right?
preparate part.
So it's not a hard thing, but I think more and more digitalizing our transportation system will help. So that way you can just swipe and then be able to see that.
Yeah, speaking of electronic, we should do that then, because I think, if not all, most of us have smartphones now. It's like, just stay here. The transfer is like you tap it rather than MetroCard, tap it and then show it and everything. Just carry on. Yes.
Yeah. And it's so helpful because you're not having the driver having to look at the transfer to see exactly what time it is and all that stuff. It takes a lot of time.
No argument. Where did you came down? I think you were from the east or west, and then we're going south or north. They say that, that's not valid here. That's good though. So
and more people, we're moving into cryptocurrency and all those type of stuff, right? So carrying money is more dangerous than to be able to pay through something much more. So.
Yeah. So most of us now have debit, and we like the Interac in Canada wide is like becoming so common nowadays, right?
Yeah.
So tapping your debit card right away, you paid right away. Like that's very that will be good also if the Toronto Transit can be like that, because how many I lost my numbers there. How many Torontonians or GTA people use TTC now? Have you have some recollection?
No,
there's millions of us, right?
Significant. And a lot of the people also from outside the Toronto area use TTC. They get to a point, and then now that subway system is being extended to Vaughan. Right.
Yes, they're coming next month. They're opening next month, December 1.
So this is definitely going to increase the amount of traffic on TTC as well. Which is a good thing,
Wow.
More people using public transit. And I was joking to somebody downtown. I said, I live in northeast corner of Scarborough. I can take 407 and park my car in Vaughan and get down to downtown faster
than
taking
the bus.
Taking the bus from Scarborough, or even driving from my house to
downtown. Yeah,
right?
it takes forever.
So because the 407, I mean, obviously expensive. It's not a free service.
My first 2 years here in Canada, when we came here, we used to live in Jamestown in downtown Toronto, right? And that's about Bloor and Sherbourne there. And then I work in Finch and Markham. And I took the bus, and that's a long drive, bus down like that. And if I work overtime, that takes forever.
Yeah.
But now the bus are more faster nowadays.
Yeah, and there's been route changes that have been happening as well to make things faster. And during rush hours, there's a lot of express services and so on. So we are constantly trying. So the other thing I'm actually exploring is to see, from my area to go to Scarborough Centre, it's about 40 minutes bus ride. So imagine it's from Scarborough North to Scarborough Centre is a 40 minutes bus ride, right? So
And are we talking one single bus, or
one
we
single
have?
bus.
Okay.
One single bus from. If you take 133 from
133 Top
Morningside,
Scout,
where it finishes, it by the time it stops in all the stops and goes to Scarborough Town.
And that's
Town
40
Center.
minutes.
Yeah, 40 minutes during rush hour. So what we need is some sort of a way in which there's somewhere it stops picking up people and then starts going express to
Express.
because there's enough people in Malvern area, Morningside area that a bus route can actually function during rush hour, just picking up people there and taking them direct to.
That's a good one.
Just
So
like how people are being now
that's
taken
good, yeah.
to Scarborough campus. Before, you didn't have a direct bus from Scarborough Town Center to Scarborough campus. Or
do they have now?
Now they have direct services that are connecting to campus, at least during rush hour.
Okay, that's a good one. How about you guys planning a single GTA pass for if you're from Toronto, from Markham, or even to Pickering or Durham like that? Can they just have one fare? Is that possible in Toronto?
One fare within Toronto is still possible.
It's still within Toronto,
because
yeah.
that's what we have, and there are some people who question why are we having it that way. But I want one Toronto, and I want to be able to have people from Scarborough and Etobicoke pay the same amount, because sometimes people feel like the shorter rides and the longer rides are paying the same amount. But that's how our transportation works. But having 905 have the same rate would not be possible. I don't think it's a possibility. But there will be more coordination. Like right now, we have a plan to
have the Presto plan.
Presto plan, and also Go Transit. If you took that, and then your TTC rate becomes half of it. So we're doing something like that.
They have discounts. That's right.
Discounts and more of those. But I don't think we would have a system where we would have the same rate across the GTA in all of the 905 regions. Maybe later. Maybe once the transportation, because it's all about ridership, right? Once it's good, once it's very good, more people use it. The more people use it, then you can actually reduce the money.
That's true. How about this? Because everyone wants to drive, because if they say, if I'm from Markham and I work in downtown Toronto, it's quicker for me to drive in a very busy traffic in DBP rather than taking the bus and then subway going to downtown Toronto. It's still so slow in the TTC transit, right? I might as well drive. How about, would that be possible that the Toronto City will, I'll give you incentive, I'll give you a credits if you're taking the TTC bus then?
I think the incentive has to come as the rate. The rates are lower, that's an incentive. The service is faster, that's an incentive. Those are the incentives. It's safer, that's an incentive. More and more you will see that the traffic is only going to get worse.
Definitely, it's going to get worse.
So people from Vaughan would now have a subway extension that they can use. Potentially, later on Richmond Hill might get an extension from Young line.
That's another
story
of the transit. Also, the Young. I don't know. I think it's up to end of Young Street. There's so many people. No, I mean after Richmond Hill, Aurora, and the New Market. There's so many people lives there right now, and they're taking the GO train, of course, GO bus rather, and that is not a fast lane for them.
Yeah, and I think as the population increase, we'll look at those options to see what to be. And in Scarborough, we are still behind. Like I said, people from Vaughan are going to get to downtown faster. People from Ajax actually get to downtown faster. Scarborough still is left out. So my priority first is to get a infrastructure for transit in Scarborough. So that we get united with the rest.
So
of the
you
area.
said there's 20 city councils in Scarborough City?
No, 20 politicians. 10 city councillors. But if you take MPs and MPPs, it's 20.
That's right.
So out of those 20, 19 are supportive of the service.
That's a good number. Oh, wow, that's good. All right, so we will ask you then, who asked you to help the Filipino community?
So
I'm just curious that part.
Yeah, so I've been, I have been an advocate for getting other communities. So I founded Tamil Heritage Month in 2009. I was the founder of it.
What month is Tamil?
January.
Okay.
And then I got municipalities who accepted, then province made it a legislation, and then federal government accepted it. And then I helped with the Sikh Heritage Month, which is for the Punjabi Sikh community in TDSP. And I've been helping different communities to find the space. And it's a way to
And
show.
you were not in the council back then?
No, I was a school board trustee at that time. So Filipino community is a very fast growing community. It's spread out across the country.
Yes,
in fact, it's politically a great thing to have, that you can have influence in almost many provinces and many parts of the GTA, because of the spread and the numbers associated with it. And I looked at the community's uniqueness, and we like a lot of people do not know the kind of the histories and heritage and the contributions of the Filipino community outside the Filipino community. There's a lot of vibrant festivals that happens, and within the community there's a lot of entertainment related stuff that happen within the Filipino community, and there's a lot
and it's in June, month of June, we do that all the time.
So I I met with I had roundtable with Filipino workers, and Paulina Corpus, who's part of the Filipino Workers Network and also different organization was there. She was telling me that they had started the petition provincially, and they've been waiting around for about 8 months or something like that. And I said, you don't need petitions. If somebody is willing to champion it, and I'll get that done at City Hall. But I need to talk to all the councillors, because I wanted to, I don't want to just stand up and speak about it and be defeated and not happen. So I said I went to each and every councillors and talked to them and got their support, and we passed it unanimously. There was no opposition to it, right?
That's good.
It's very important to have that, because the community needs to see a solidarity of everybody.
Could you help us in the legislative building? We'll go there and then we'll talk to them, because they have declined that and they don't want to.
Yeah, I think the parties need to collaborate. It's not about who takes. People can take credit. You know what? After a couple of years, Nathan Shan is not going to be known as the person who passed this. The Heritage Month is going to be celebrated by Filipino young people, non-Filipinos, and it's not. Our credit is just short-lived, right? It's not. It's about what we give to the community, and so I'm not. I've actually sent a letter to all three parties, both provincially and federally, asking them to support. In fact, I got a letter. Unfortunately, our senator had passed away. He had sent a letter to me right after I passed, saying, congratulations, thank you for doing this.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be taking this up at the provincial, the federal level as a senator. And I read that letter, and I was very sad to read that, because it's unfortunate that I was reading that after he had passed away. So
yes.
Obvious. But it's something that, regardless of party lines, we connect. I'm a different party, he's from a different party, but we all need to work together. And different ethnicities. We don't have enough representation of all diversity in council or any other place. So we have to help each other, work together, and that's what I'm hoping will happen. And provincially, we should hopefully see MPP Raymond Cho had tried to do unanimous consent a couple of times and didn't succeed. Peter Tabbins from NDP has passed a motion, a private member motion.
Okay.
Yeah. So that is, if you pass it as a unanimous consent, basically what I keep saying Councillor Raymond Cho, MPP Raymond Cho asked is that if all three parties agree right there, it'll become an act right there.
Yeah,
you don't have to.
Yeah.
That's what unanimous consent is. So if any party says no, then it'll have to be discussed. So now what MPP Peter Tabbins has done is passed as a private member motion. Now it'll go through first reading, second reading, and follow the same process.
That's going to happen after the election.
Hopefully it's before the election. Because there are a number of bills that can be passed before the election. It depends on what happens in January. If they don't reconvene in January or February when they're supposed to come back, it may not happen. But if they have regular process and reconvene in February and go up to May or something like that, early May, that can pass.
That's good. And since Senator Enverga has passed away, and then I hope that we can. Someone has to catch the ball, right?
Yeah.
And we'll keep the dribble here. So hoping that June can be heritage for the entire Canada.
Yeah. And
for
I think
the Filipinos.
The community can decide that they are going to go ahead and celebrate anyways.
No, we've been celebrating that.
You've been celebrating
the Tamil
that
celebrating that January, and I know the Chinese celebrating during their Lunar month, that. So
so you can call it Filipino Heritage Month. You can celebrate, and slowly every political party and everybody will come on board. All the school boards have to come on. The main thing here is the school boards to do stuff in school, so that other youth. Filipino youth see how rich their heritage is, how important their contribution is, politically, socially, culturally.
That's good. You have a point.
It's very important. And then the non-Filipino youth also see value their neighbors and value their friends from the contributions they make, right? So
if I would say in the TCDSB, there's no Filipino Heritage Month there, but there is an Asia Heritage Month, right? And then there's also a Black Heritage Month and so on like that. Going back to Toronto, there's more than 12 ethnics here in Toronto. What would happen if the other ethnics wants to ask you, hey, can you help us also? And the other one, and there is more than 12 of them.
That's fine. So for example, Italian Heritage Month is also June.
It's also June.
There is
There
a
you
Hispanic
go.
Heritage Month is in October, as the Islamic Heritage Month is in October.
Good.
So it's going to be like there's going to be different community celebrating, but the ownership is back to the community. Community has the capacity to celebrate and to create awareness and all that stuff, right?
Good
And
reasoning,
you know,
yes.
and it's also a short-term solution to a long-term problem. We are only seeking this because people from Filipino community told me, regardless of our big number, it seems like we are invisible in the mainstream kind of conversations.
That's true.
Right?
That's
and
true.
Filipino youth was saying, we are not getting space for arts programs. We are not getting, space to do recreational or have basketball tournament. So this gives you a space to kind of project yourself, be visible, ask for things.
Oh, we got permit for free?
And so, yeah, and it shows the strength of the community, and then people start to respond to it, right? And that is what this is about. This is about accessing collectively the power together to get the support you need, to get the momentum you need to succeed, and to also celebrate your contribution, because sometimes many of these communities' contributions are not talked about. We have a very strong workforce in healthcare sector, in personal support, in live-in caregivers, in agriculture, in all sorts of industrial, manufacturing, entertainment industry in the Filipino community. That's huge. The city, the country is vibrant because of that. But to celebrate that and showcase that is an important thing to do.
Yeah, that's good. That's good to know. Well, that's really good though. I'm gonna ask you for the last thing before we go, because it's almost 1 o'clock right now, and this is Randy here live on Pinoy Radio Sunday Talk Show. By the way, next Sunday I won't be around here because next Sunday is the Zumba concert with Aurora Halili, right? So DJ Ryan Paper is here, whether he like it or not. So if you are into Zumba or if you wanna sweat on Sunday, that will be from 1:30 in the afternoon to 3:30. We will be in the Ellesmere Community Center. So the Zumba is only for $15 at the door. That just bring your cash and we'll give you water. You don't have to bring water anyways. Yeah. So this is like a concert type inside the community center. There's a big gym there that we are going to, and then Aurora Halili is a certified Zumba instructor network, right? So she will be performing for us, and everyone's welcome. Just parents, take care of your children anyways. So let's go back to our guest here, City Councilor, City of Toronto Councilor Nathan Sian, and he helped us, like the Filipinos in Toronto. He indeed helped us to put our name in the mainstream, right? Although we all know that in the month of June we have the Pistahan Festival in downtown Toronto in the Nathan Phillips, and then the Mabuhay Festival by PIDC. There's also there, but it's not in June, it's around August this year. And then in June time we have the Salo Salo sa Earl Bells is another festival, Elbers Park. That's also on the weekend. And then of course we have our flag raising in the City Hall. That's on the June 12. And then inside Toronto also we have another flag raising for the legislative building, right? And that's just a few of them that I know celebrating in Toronto. Of course there's Mississauga, Markham, and Vaughan.
Yeah.
And Pickering, Durham also, they are also celebrating their own Heritage Month, right? So, and I'm also aware that the Berry have called Heritage Month also for June for Filipinos.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, this was back in a few years back, right? And
that was a mayor's proclamation, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mayor's
So
proclamation.
that's right, mayor's proclamation. Yeah. So they have that kind of thing. When you put your June as the Heritage Month for the Filipinos, how did Mayor Tory react?
Well, he was fairly supportive. I mean, the difference here is that it passed as a council.
Yes, and he's one of the council as a mayor.
Yeah, so regardless of who comes to become the mayor,
yes,
this will be there as a regular thing.
They cannot stop that anymore. They cannot change that
so
anymore.
That's why this is different as the first legislated kind of, as a body,
yes,
as an elected body, we passed that. So I think the mayor is very fond of the community. Mayor has been at different events and actively participating and stuff like that. So he was more than supportive of it right from the get-go, and that helped to get the unanimous support.
That's good.
Because
That's
the mayor has councillors who he can talk to and get them on board, and I talked to a few councillors, got them on board. We collectively were able to do that. And Joe Mehavik, who is actually the newcomer advocate, was the one who seconded the motion.
Wow, that's good.
And so it was a fabulous thing, I think.
That's great. Let's invite them for November 30.
The mayor unfortunately cannot come.
Right.
Because there's a big city mayors conference that he's hosting a dinner. But some of the other councillors are coming. Some of the other councillors are coming. But what we should do is a big celebration in June. Already the celebrations are there. But how do we scale it up and get the attention of
Nathan Phillips?
We can look at different options.
And November 30th, that's from 6 to 8 in the evening, right? At the Scarborough Civic Center.
We are just celebrating first the proclamation at city level as a declaration.
So are there foods there? Or something?
There'll be food. There'll be Filipino catering that'll be there from Scarborough.
That's good.
And there will be some performances and speeches and so on, and a networking session. So November 30th on Thursday from 6 to 8:30 p.m. at Scarborough Civic Center.
That's great. So Councillor Nathan Sian here is like, should we assume that we'll see your candidacy this coming New Year?
Definitely, I'm hoping to go back to running again as a councillor, and we'll be back to do the same and more.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Councillor Nathan Sian, and thank you for being here, and then thanks for giving us hope again as a Filipino in Toronto, right? So, mga kabayan, we have to go, and we will try our best on December 10, and we're hoping that the Canada Minister for Immigration, so that's Minister Ahmed Hussein, will be with us on December 10 here live on Pinoy Radio Sunday Talk Show, right? So magpapaalam na po kami. It's around 1 o'clock in the afternoon and it's midnight in the Philippines, so you can sleep now. Matutulog na kayo dyan, di ba? And of course, DJ Ryan here has his center stage with Edwin Andres. So stay tuned because they have another singing event here for the next hour. Thank you, and this is Randy here live on Pinoy Radio Sunday Talk Show. Goodbye.
Inyong natungayan ang isa na namang edisyon ng palatuntunang Sunday Talk with Randy. Hanggang sa susunod na linggo, kasama ang kanyang mga panauhin at ang mga isyong tatalakayin. 1:00 ng hapon, Eastern Standard Time. Dito lamang sa PinoyRadio.com. Sa iRemit, libreng tawag ka sa Pilipinas tuwing magpapadala ka ng pera via iRemit from any of our 8 branches across Canada. Visit Batters Toronto branch and enjoy free coffee or tea and other refreshments and experience the comfort of their service while sending money to the Philippines.